Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Talk With. Well, it's kind of a subsection of A Talk With called A Tribute to the Whittaker era, which is an era I personally very much love. And I've always wanted to kind of get people on and discuss that era. And I thought, why not make a series out of it? Because we can't have too much positivity based around such a joyful era. And I'm here with T. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm T. I'm a massive 13th Doctor enthusiast. I absolutely love this era so much.
Yeah, so first things first, how are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm cold, but I'm good.
Same. Yeah, I love the winter, but I hate how freezing it gets.
Me
I
too.
my hands go blue. I think they're blue right now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great. But yeah. So first things first. Of course, we're here to discuss Jodie Whittaker and how amazing she is and her era is. Starting off with Series 11, really. Going full in
Mhm.
to Series 11. Well, actually, before that, what was your first reactions like Jodie Whittaker's casting and the casting announcement? Because,
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I didn't start watching Doctor Who until Jodie's first episode.
mm,
So I wasn't really around when Jodie first got cast, but my friend who was a Whovian at the time, he messaged me when Jodie's episode first aired, like an hour or so before it aired, and he was like, I think you should watch this. I think you'll love it. Because I am a sucker for strong female characters. So he was like, you should watch it, and I did, and then I fell in love straight away.
yeah, so the Whittaker era was kind of the first kind of venture into Doctor Who for you then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I never grew up with I didn't even grow up with Sarah Jane Adventures, which I know is quite odd for being a young British person, not
Yeah,
watching like Doctor Who when I was younger. Um, so yeah, it was Jodie that like the first ever glimpse I saw of Doctor Who.
that's amazing. Naturally, I grew up with the show. I grew up with all of it and everything, and
Yeah.
got my head rattled with it all. But I can imagine like Jodie Whittaker's era being such a great start for people because it was kind of. I love how Series 11 kind of takes the premise and kind of reinvents it in a way, like not reinvents it, but gives people a way of watching the show without kind of you don't have to think about all the continuity and everything from the past. It was a nice clean sort of start in a way, and I think it really works. What was it kind of like as a start, this era? Because you said you fell in love, but what kind of appealed about the show to you?
I think because it was so fun,
Hmm.
um, and straight off the bat it was such like strong characters. And the storylines were really fun. So I wasn't being distracted by like I'm not saying I don't like the sadness of Doctor Who, but there wasn't any trauma that come
Yeah.
with Jodie's first series. Um, but even then, I still thought it was like thrilling and terrifying. I remember being so scared of Tim Shaw for some reason, even though he's just a tooth fairy essentially.
Yeah.
Um, I just thought it was so thrilling and adventurous. And I think at that age, I think I was 15.
Mm.
It just come out at like the perfect time for me. It was just like a new adventure,
Yeah.
which like, yeah.
I think I couldn't have done a better job describing that era as a whole, really. About it's just so joyful and so like I love how the episodes are kind of self-contained.
Yeah.
If you can go back and watch the Tennant era, and I love the Tennant era, and I love Eccleston, I love Smith and Capaldi. They're all brilliant. And I
Hmm.
love the entire show. But I love how Whittaker's era, at first at least, went for it. It was people. A lot of people compare it to classic, but I think it was something new, something so. I love how they were changing it, making small changes. As much as I love the Christmas specials, and I can't wait for them to come back if they do come back.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
nice having a different special. It's nice having it on a Sunday, even though I love it on a Saturday and can't wait for it to come back on a Saturday. It was nice having something so different, something so new for the show, structure
Yeah.
wise, and it was just so easy to watch in a way, and so but
Yeah.
brilliant. And yeah, I mean, what's your favorite episode from Series 11?
From series 11, oh God. I think Demons of the Punjab and The Woman Who Fell to Earth are visually stunning episodes.
Hmm.
But obviously, because The Woman Who Fell to Earth was um my first episode, that's always got a soft place in my heart. But Demons of the Punjab, I think, is so beautiful, and the storylines and how they later reflect in 13 and Yaz's story in Flux with the with 13's watch. I just
Hmm.
think it's such a beautiful story.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
watching that at the time. Um, I can't even remember how young I was. I must be around, well, 17, 16, something like that. I often forget
Yeah.
what age I was when I watched Doctor Who. Like, it feels like I was older when I was watching Capaldi. But it turns out I was much younger. But yeah, I remember when I was watching The Woman Who Fell to Earth for the first time, and it was just there was something so magical about it. And I remember like I was sitting on the edge of my seat when she was doing like the crane jump, and like
Oh yeah.
and then
Hmm.
the surprise of like Grace's death as well and how that was handled.
Oh, I know.
It caught me off guard. Like, uh,
I couldn't believe it.
and I
Shocking.
remember I remember seeing something like it was like they posed like all the characters and Grace was like on like Desolation. She was on like they
Yes,
made it
yes.
seem like
I
she was in
remember that.
episode 2. And so it just completely caught me off guard. And I loved this era for doing that because like there was so
Hmm.
many moments, like the Master reveal, for example. I mean,
Oh my,
and the
whoa.
destruction of Gallifrey. I mean, what kind of moments kind of shocked you like that? Because this era is just so many like shock moments.
Yeah, like I've there's so many. It leaves me speechless actually trying to like explain the absolute shock of it. I think that the master reveal, I will never get over that. I jumped off the couch and nearly punched my TV because I genuinely couldn't believe I was witnessing. And also, Ruth being revealed as the Doctor, I think was so bewildering. I think seconds before, I was like guessing who it could be just before she said who she was. And I was like, is it River? And I went, Doctor. And she was like, hello, I'm the Doctor. And I was like, no.
Yeah,
Uh,
I God, there's
yeah,
so
there's just so
many.
many.
I mean, also Flux. I mean, Flux was just
Uh,
full to the brim of them. I mean, I think
mhm.
I think the one that really kind of, I mean, they all stood out, but like the Doctor being turned into a weeping angel, that
Oh,
was, and then like Kate Stewart in the Next Time trailer.
okay. That was absolutely insane. I had just done Time Fracture that day, I believe. So I went from Time Fracture to watching that episode in a travel lodge. I'm surprised we didn't get kicked out because there was many screams when we saw Kate and when 13 was an angel. The
Mm,
cliffhanger and the no music also, like without the
yeah,
heartbeats in
yeah.
the outro. Oh, it was just like it was chilling.
It's
I got chills. It was
I
crazy.
really loved what they did with the music in this era, and like with how like, I mean,
Yes.
even like the theme in Demons of the Punjab, at the ending as
Yes.
well. All both of those themes really worked for,
Hmm.
they really made you feel something. I mean, Sagan is I find him to be a very underrated composer because obviously
Oh,
people are gonna
oh, definitely.
compare him to Gold and everyone who came before Gold, but Sagan is an amazing composer, and I feel like Flux in particular,
Uh-huh.
the music was just, I mean, the violins like at the end of the Halloween Apocalypse, and like it's just
Yes.
this montage, and it was just that was like completely carried by the
It's
music, and it was just like it made me
mhm.
feel that dread, and I
Yeah, it's so sinister, and that's what I really like about Sigun's work is how sinister all of his sounds are, especially for the villains. They always sound so threatening, and it always terrifies me, and I absolutely love that about
mm,
his work.
yeah, and I mean, talking to the villains, I mean, you were saying about like Tim Shaw, but which who's your favorite villain from this era? I know there's the Master, but I mean, a lot of people are going to say the Master, but excluding the Master, then who's your favorite
Yeah,
villain?
definitely Swarm.
Mm.
There's something so what's the word? I don't want to say camp, but he's so camp,
Oh,
and
he's definitely
his
camp.
Yeah, it's his style and his confidence and his
Mm.
pure hatred towards the Doctor that it just makes him so. I mean, he's scary enough looking already, but he's just a very fancy man.
I mean, there's
Like,
something so suave about him. It's like
yeah,
you
that's
just
the word.
yeah.
Yeah, suave. He is very suave. Just seeing him own the screen
Mm.
is is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
from its very first appearance, I remember when people were theorizing that Swarm was going to be the master, and like
Yeah, I remember
that went
seeing things
around.
like that. Hmm.
Yeah, that was insane. I mean, there's always a crazy master theory out there all the time,
Yeah, like Dan
but
Lewis was the master at some point.
I mean, that would have
Like,
been such a good plot twist. Like Dan was just like too good. He was just too good. He was like too nice.
he was
He,
too lovely.
he was brilliant. No, what did you think of Dan and Graham and Ryan? Of course.
I think out of the three, Dan was definitely my favorite, but Ryan and Graham and their relationship is so special to me anyway.
Mm,
Um, I personally think that the two boys, like Ryan and Graham, should have left in somewhere in the middle of series 12, but
mm.
um,
I agree. I do agree on that. Yeah.
yeah, but I do love them. And I adore Dan Lewis. I think he's hilarious. I just love John Bishop. He's so
Mm,
funny, and I think just because I'm from the same town as John Bishop, and he's just a hilarious man. But when I found out he was in Doctor Who, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way that this man is going to be playing a companion." And do you know what? He really shocked me, and he did
mm.
so well. And I'd say he's really high up on my favorite companions. To be fair,
I mean, comedians often play the best companions. I mean,
yeah, that's
Catherine Tate.
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, Matt Lucas as Nardole. I mean, I freaking love Nardole.
Oh,
He's incredible.
he is. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Dan, and I find Ryan's overhated, I think, by a
Oh,
huge margin. Like,
for sure. For sure. Yeah, I
I
agree.
must admit, like, I didn't like him at first because it's kind of like the Clara syndrome, I call it, because like the whole internet when Clara was the companion was like going after her,
Yeah.
and then like it would influence people, and I at the time, being young, thought, oh, these people are right, and it was the same with Ryan. But then I actually went back and rewatched his stories that kind of focus
Yeah.
on his character, and he's brilliant as a character. I think there's one moment in the Zrango conundrum where he's talking about like the passing of his mother and like all that kind of
Oh,
depth,
yeah, it's
like,
heartbreaking.
and you can really understand what Tosin was trying to do with the character,
Yeah,
and
you can.
yeah, and I mean in Rosa as well, and the woman who fell to Earth, and I think you're right. I feel like they should have really left around halfway through season 12,
Yeah.
um, and I do like the departure that they were eventually given.
Oh, it's so sad. I mean,
I cried.
I couldn't believe I was just like, there's no way. I think it's beautifully done.
Mm,
It's a lovely departure. It's so sweet.
yeah,
And I think perfectly rounds off like their little story. And it was very
yeah.
lovely.
And I think that story was great for Ryan as well because we got that Ryan and 13 moment that I absolutely adore with them
Yes.
just talking. And I think that was the last scene that Tosin recorded. And so
Yeah.
I feel like that was added in, and I love that it was because I would have loved more 13 and Ryan moments. I feel like that was,
Hmm.
but I love how much like it was centered around Graham and Ryan.
Yeah.
It was their story, and it takes you
Yeah, for
away as
sure.
well. And resolution. I mean, there's so many good Ryan stories. I just feel like
Yeah, there is.
it
Yeah,
really
there's.
gets overshadowed by the amount the internet just likes to be the internet.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
But
It's
there is
ridiculous.
and Graham as well. I fucking love Graham. I mean Bradley Walsh, another more. Well, I mean, I wouldn't class him as a comedian, but he does a lot of comedy stuff. He
He
kind of,
does. I'd say he's a comedian. Yeah,
yeah.
he's
I
a
mean,
funny man.
he was brilliant as Graham, and I really loved his arc in series 11. It did feel like he was. It did feel like he had like both him and Ryan didn't really have much to do in series 12 as much as I
Yeah,
which is why I kind of feel the same way about them leaving.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I loved the old shoe shuffle. I'd completely forgotten what it
Yeah.
was, and scenes like
Soft.
that, soft
Yeah,
shoe
yeah,
shuffle.
yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. Too
And
many S's. Was such a
yeah,
stutter.
yeah, they were both brilliant. But of course, there was one companion I
Mhm.
missed out for obvious reason
Oh.
because naturally, uh,
Uh-huh.
Yasmin Khan. I mean, absolutely,
hmm
like I'd say out of all the companions, she's definitely the standout for me. Out of all of
Oh,
them, I mean, I
100%.
absolutely love all the other companions, but Yaz, it was always Yaz and the Doctor's story for me. And
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, once again, the internet was being the internet, and yeah, it was like I think it was either the Daleks, and I absolutely loved that scene with Yaz, uh, coming out to Dan and opening up. It was an absolutely lovely scene, really well written, and I loved her story from the very beginning. I just wanted to talk to you about Yaz really and Phasmin and
Yeah.
all that storyline. And yeah, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts? I don't know. I imagine they're
Well,
positive, but yeah.
beyond positive, I think.
Mm.
God, it's really hard to put into words how much Yaz means to me. As a lesbian and growing up with not really understanding yourself and it being a really scary thing. Um, Seeing my favorite companion come out on screen and her not being 100% sure of herself and looking for help was so reassuring and so lovely to see. And it's touched so many of my friends. And I can't thank Mandip Gill enough and obviously Jodie for creating this little community that Phasmin and Yaz and 13 has given us. Um, I just think it is the most wonderful, beautiful thing to me in all of Doctor Who. It means so much to me. And seeing it develop from when I was 15 years old to now I'm nearly 20 is so magical. And I'm very glad that I got to witness that live on telly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's truly amazing seeing how it's helped people and how it's kind of, seeing people represented in this show it makes it so much like this show would be nothing without inclusivity. The creativity in
Yeah.
general would be nothing without
hmm
diversity, and so many people don't understand that, which,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. But it's so nice it's just so lovely seeing a moment like that help and make people
Yeah.
feel like they're being represented and seeing people, love these characters and love their relationship. It just brings a level of joy to the show and this level of openness and just it feels like everyone's included. And I absolutely love that Jodie and Mandip had a say in what
Yeah.
went down with the characters and the fact that it actually happened. And I'm glad Chris Chibnall listened and they're very open to the fans and brought in what they were feeling and
Yeah.
what they were thinking and represented everyone. And
hmm
I mean, obviously not for the same reasons, but that scene in particular when Yaz is opening up about herself,
Yeah.
it meant so much to me. I mean, I'm a straight white cis male. I'm as generic as they come, but
Yeah.
that was aired on the day I lost my dad, and
Yeah.
seeing that character, seeing Mandip act and seeing them be so true to themselves and open up about themselves and um all that moment and all that episode in general, even the Daleks is one of my favorites for
Yeah.
like that reason. Brought me so much comfort when I really needed it the most. And I feel like that can sum up the Jodie Whittaker era as a whole. Like it was an era that helped people through such a uncertain time in everyone's
Yeah, for
lives with the
sure.
pandemic and everything. And I'm just so glad that it was the way that it was and that it was there during that
hmm
time. Um, and for that episode and that moment, it meant so much to me and so much to helping me through it all, and so did Legend of the Sea Devils and the Centenary. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm calling it the Centenary. It's just like etched into my brain that it's called that. But yeah, I absolutely love it. And how did you you know, what were your thoughts on Eve of the Daleks, and that sort of
Oh,
specials?
well, Evil Daleks especially, I think blew my mind. Um, as you said, it was such a comfort episode for me. Um, and I think a comfort to loads of people. I just that episode, the way it ends, especially, it feels so hopeful. And I think that Jodie's era really is all about hope. It gives me the chills talking about it now. But it really the fireworks and the lovely colours and the glance over to Yaz, it's so heartwarming. And even the callback to the man that appeared in The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah, that was the most
Um,
random callback, but I absolutely love it.
I thought it
Absolutely
was
love it.
hilarious. Yeah, I just thought it was just like that. But it shows that he was struggling with himself also.
Yeah,
And in the first episode, and then he was there happy looking at these fireworks thinking, oh, all for me. Which is absolutely lovely. But either the Daleks and Legend of the Sea Devils are two of I say my favorite episodes of Doctor Who altogether. Um yeah. I think even the Daleks, like even if you're not a fan of Thasmin, I think that storyline and the
yeah,
script is so juicy. And it's just so fun to watch that whole plot unravel
yeah.
for
I
sure.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I absolutely love it, and the fireworks scene, as mentioned, is just it's just so magical. And I think that's another scene in which the Sigourney Akinola does a
Oh,
phenomenal job. That soundtrack, that
mm-hmm.
like song, I've played it so many times since, but I feel like it was exactly what I needed that day. And that song in particular kind of embodies that
Yeah,
hope and joy in that moment, and the look they give each other. Oh, it just
it's
it
beautiful.
yeah. And
Yeah, I'm so glad that episode gave you so much comfort on that day because it
likewise,
really was. Yeah.
yeah. And Legends of the Sea Devils as well. My favorite moments in that story are the Phasma moments for sure. I
Yes.
have my critiques about some of the editing and
Yeah.
the Mario
Yeah.
jump, but apart from that, the
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was a great episode to watch, and the especially the ending and Doctor bringing up River
Hmm.
and
Oh, yes.
their date,
Yes.
which was just lovely. And um I feel like it was such a lovely relationship to just watch, and
It really was.
and it was
It
so
really
like,
was.
and with the amount of time they like confirmed it and gave it, they managed to do so much with that. I don't think people
Yeah.
give that enough credit, because
Mm-mm.
and they allowed for room as well. I feel like a lot of Phasmin is up to us. It's up to
Yeah.
fans. It's very much a fan thing that was brought into the show, and it gives me so much joy to see it inspire so much creativity and see
Yeah.
people like fill in the gaps and bring them together, and it's lovely. It really is. And
Hmm.
yeah, and of course, you met Jodie and Manip, didn't you? Did you meet them at?
I
You
I
did, didn't you?
did.
What was
Yes, I
that
did.
experience like for you?
Oh, it was mind blowing when I went to London Film. So I've been going to Comic Cons for as long as I've been watching Doctor Who, and maybe a bit longer. So I've done quite a fair few Comic
Mm.
Cons now, but nothing was insane as that Comic Con. It was wild. I remember Twitter blew up that day. Like I had to turn my notifications off because it was just too much. But wow, it was a wonderful day, and I blanked most of it out because it was so exciting.
Mm.
But I remember speaking to Mandip and showing Jodie my tattoo, and Jodie was so excited because I have a little 13th Doctor on my arm,
Mm.
and she loved it. And yeah, they were both so lovely, and I met Jodie again recently, and she's just perfect, and I think she embodies the Doctor even when she's not playing the character. You just look at her and you're like, wow, she really is the Doctor.
I couldn't
Um,
agree more. I mean,
yeah,
I met Jodie and Mandip at the first one they were out as well,
yeah,
and I went for because I managed to get a diamond pass for Jodie, which was it was
me
just like
too. Yeah,
and
yeah,
God, the photo shoot. I mean, oh, the photo shoot. I mean, it was my first ever done like a professional photo shoot type thing before, and
really,
yeah, I mean, I've been going to Comic Cons for as long as I can remember. I mean, I did do one with my family in the past with like Jenna Coleman.
yeah.
And I a funny story about that one actually is that I was going like my dad, my sister, and my mum, and during like the queue because I didn't at the time I didn't like smiling in photos, and so my dad asked me to smile, and and I like ended up gurning my teeth. Like it wasn't a smile, it was just like it was like just it was just a block of teeth there. And so when I was going to meet Jodie, I my sister was like, "Oh, you got to think about what pose you got to do. You really got to think about what pose you got to do." And I
Yeah.
overthought it because as soon as I entered there, Jodie was like, "Hello, I love your costume," and she like wrapped her arm around me,
Oh.
and like I didn't know what to do in that moment. Like what can you like? I'm thinking about like what pose to do, and like
Mhm.
then I just think, oh, I should smile, and then when the photo was being taken, it was like halfway through the smile, and it
Oh.
and like I accidentally caught my teeth on my lip, and so that's forever.
Oh.
I mean, it's such an awkward photo, but I absolutely love it for that reason. I mean,
Yeah, I think that it captures the moment
oh
great.
yeah,
And you'll always
yeah,
remember it that way then, because you've
oh
got a
yeah.
funny story about it. Yeah.
Exactly, and then I met her afterwards, which was lovely, and I told her about Eve the Daleks and how much that because that was not long after Eve, was it? It was in February.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a month and a bit afterwards.
yeah, and it was and so I told both Jodie and Mandip about how much comfort that episode brought me, and Mandip in particular, I managed to tell her how much her performance as a whole just brought me so much comfort as well, and I'm sure many people did that day, and I'm glad that
Yeah,
they
we
did
did.
because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to. Well, actually, I mean, I went to the recent one as well, the one that's just been, and I met David Tennant and Matt Smith, which is they were my doctors
Wow.
growing up. They were,
Yeah.
and so meeting them was incredible. And thankfully, I didn't bite my lip this time. And at one point during the convention, when I entered like 5 minutes in, Matt Smith walked past me, and he was like going
No
around and
way.
saying, nice costume." And then like I did a photo shoot and that went well. Then I went for an autograph and I like spoke a mile a minute and he was all listening and very attentive. And like later on during the day, he walked past me again and he like said, "Sup, Rory?" And
Oh,
it brought me so much joy. And I've got so many unforgettable moments from Comic Con this year, and
yeah.
meeting Jodie is definitely one of them.
Oh, for sure. For
Mm.
sure.
I mean, going back to the seasons, going on to season 12, well, series 12. I know a lot of Doctor Who
Yeah.
fans will hate me for saying season 12 then. Um, going back to series 12, what's your favorite series 12 episode out of curiosity?
I think people will hate me for this, but I am a Praxius enjoyer. I
Ooh.
adore Praxius. I think it's a very underrated story, but I just love it. I think the romance in it, because we didn't really get to see a lot of romance in
Yeah.
13th era, it was something that I was just like, this is so fun, and because it was a gay romance, I'm obviously gonna love it even more. But also the parallels in Praxis towards Tasman.
Mm.
At the time, I was going absolutely insane. I was like, why is a policeman falling in love with an astronaut right now? Like that is
Yeah.
literally exactly Yaz and the Doctor. But yeah, I think Praxis is probably my favorite. I also love Fugitive.
Mm.
And yeah, I think they're my two favorites, I'd say,
Yeah. I
for
mean,
sure.
I must admit I didn't like Praxeus from first viewing. Um,
Yeah.
but on rewatch, I've really grown towards it. Like it's such an ambitious story as well. I know
Yeah.
I know a lot of people point out that that sometimes like writers add a lot of like locations to build like scope, but I feel like
Yeah.
this era it sort of works. Like it works, especially with, like Praxis. I mean, sometimes I must admit it can get a bit difficult to follow with the sheer amount of locations, but I think it
Yeah.
works for like especially like Flux when they did it with Flux. Like the scale of
Oh
that
yeah,
story
definitely.
deserved that many
Crazy.
locations and it
Yeah.
needed it really. Um and yeah, I love Praxis looking back. And I mean even looking at it now, I mean I took the piss out of it at the time, but and I like made a fucking like meme account with like so many different fucking like Benny memes. But like it was like all from 55. Like that's how I got my start on this platform, by the way. Benny memes, which I
Oh.
highly regret because I really oversaturated. I like made hundreds of posts because I didn't know when to stop. And someone should have told me. But like I looking back, Orphan 55, I don't think is as bad as people say it is. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah, I love Orphan
mm,
55.
it's not the
I don't
best
know if I've
episode in the world, in my opinion, but it's good. I enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
like not something that I watch too seriously, but it's like and the dregs are brilliant. The it's all over the place, but I feel like sometimes you need an episode that's all over the place and not the best in the world, but enjoyable. Enjoyable. And it's
Yeah,
got a good message.
it's
It's got a brilliant message.
yeah, for sure. I think it's one of those fun ones. It's like Love and Monsters. People either despise it or they're obsessed with it. And I think silly episodes are needed like that sometimes. And I
Honestly,
think it's a very funny episode. Like everything 13 says is ridiculous. Like she threatens to bark at someone in that episode. Like it's so stupid. And I think it's so in character of the Doctor, especially 13.
mm,
That's why I like Orphan 55. It's very funny to me,
yeah.
anyways.
Honestly, I'm just surprised someone brought up Love and Monsters and it wasn't me. Uh I mean, it's pretty much become my brand at that point. And I absolutely love Love and Monsters.
Oh,
I
me
love
too.
I love like the just the campy, just
Hmm.
batshit insane episodes of the show. The show
Yeah.
wouldn't be anything without them. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the thing,
exactly.
and I just love it. I mean, I've been showing my friend who's never seen the show before. I mean, the show, and we've been watching it in chronological order from Eccleston. We've just finished series 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, we just finished Journey's End, and uh, sidetrack. The silence at the end of that episode was just it was just
Yeah.
deafening. But like
Oh, I can imagine.
I think it was like when we were watching Love and Monsters and the paving slap scene came on. I mean, it's moments like that, looking over towards my friend, he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It's moments like that. That's what I live for. And like, there was another moment as well. I think it was like, oh yeah, Captain Jack revealing himself to be the face of Bo. And it
Oh,
was like
wow. Yeah.
moments, batshit moments like that. That looking over towards my friend just made it all the more better. Like, and I can't wait to watch Orphan 55 with them and watch them react to Benny. and
It'll be hilarious.
talking of that, actually, I mean, they actually watched Power of the Doctor with me live. So all of
Right.
my flatmates did my uni because I started uni this year, and and we're living together, and it's like and they wanted to watch me react to an episode because I'm always watching them react to episodes whenever I'm sitting with them, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm watching it for the first time when I'm with them because you kind of get that atmosphere, and it's like it is amazing because yeah, and they caught my reaction to the regeneration scene and the
Oh.
classic doctors appearing and
Hmm.
yeah, and it's now my most viewed video ever and probably always will be. It somehow got 119K views, which is fucking insane. I
Wow.
know.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a-
Congrats. That's crazy.
and that
Whoa.
was just them just impromptu just recording it because
Yeah.
I was just jumping out of my seat during all of it. I mean, Jodie's last moments made me tear up so much, and
Oh.
I mean, I wasn't as bad as Jude, Big NT on. Sure.
I love that video of Jude
It's just
breaking down, sobbing within seconds. It's so sweet, but it does
it
make me
really is
giggle.
sweet. I mean, I
Yeah.
brought that up to Sophie Aldred as well when I got her on the podcast. Um, and of course, what's your thoughts on like Ace and Tegan returning? Because of course, have you ventured back into Classic Who since you like joined?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah, I
joined with
have.
the Whittaker, and had you seen any of the Ace and Tegan stories prior to watching it, or did you like watch a few then watch this all? Were you just completely blind to the characters?
So I a few years like when I first started watching Doctor Who, I started with the first Doctor
Mm,
and got to the second Doctor, and then stopped because I haven't got the attention span for the earlier stories. But more recently, with my girlfriend, just before Ace was announced coming back, we started watching Seven's era, and I've got to say, I bloody
mhm.
love him.
Ah,
I
he's
adore
amazing.
that man. He's so brilliant. I think Seven's so are like 13 too, so I think that is
Mm.
really perfect for me. But God, I love Ace
Oh yeah.
so much, and I love Tegan too. I'm just about halfway through, maybe a bit more than halfway through all of her episodes. So I'm excited to get through the rest of them. But I was very, very excited to see them back, and they slayed. They did so good. They were crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, we were just talking about Ace. Sorry, for everyone watching, each of these Zoom calls is split up into 40 minutes, so I have to take up myself along. But yeah, Ace is genuinely an icon, just amazing, and Sophie Aldred did a fucking incredible job. So did Janet Fielding, as Tegan. Genuinely, just they're some of my favorite classic Who companions. And
Oh yeah,
they fit in so well with the Whittaker cast. I think I
they
was I
do.
was when I was speaking to Sophie, and she was talking about the scene with 13, Yaz, Tegan, Ace, and Kate all on the screen together, and all those strong female characters and icons all in one room.
Yeah.
It was almost like too much for the screen. I mean, that was incredible. Like I honestly, it was incredible seeing them all together and seeing so many like inspirational characters and everything. Really, I think it pretty much just, as mentioned, this era has been so inclusive and so diverse. And
Yeah,
such a strong point of it is that Jodie is such a strong character in general, and and so is Mandip. And I feel like that translates so well onto the screen. So those two characters in particular were perfect to bring back for this finale, and they fit in
yeah,
perfectly.
definitely.
Because of course they were both very ahead of their time, Tegan and Ace.
Yeah,
Uh, and they both really propelled the show forward. Of course, so did many other companions, of course. But Ace in particular, with her story arc and everything, it fits perfectly into this new Who, this the
yeah.
revival, and seeing them back was amazing. I wondered, it's probably going to be a big conversation topic, but what are your thoughts on the episode as a whole? Right,
On Power of the Doctor.
on Power of the Doctor?
I found the episode so overwhelming. I think because I'd never watched a regeneration before, I didn't
Mm,
know what to expect. I mean, live, I've obviously watched all the other Doctor's regenerations, but watching it live and watching a Doctor that has been with me and I've like growing up most of my teen years, and to see her suddenly just go away so quickly
mm,
within like an hour, well, nearly 2 hour time slot, I
yeah.
couldn't believe it. But the storylines of the episode is so good. Christian Chibnall's brain is absolutely insane. Like that man's so clever. The Master's storyline in that, and um, him changing into the Doctor, and then him shouting at Yaz, and I
Mm,
just think everything worked so perfectly. And as you said, seeing all those women together was
it was
oh, it was
just amazing.
beautiful. Yeah, it was so wonderful. Especially because I mean, I know it's not canon for two of the characters, but for three of those characters to be canon queer women,
Mm.
was insane, and they're all just there being in charge of everyone else. Like there's no men there. They're all in charge, and I just think that is so cool to see
Yeah.
on such a popular show.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, for for there to be 13 years, I mean, all of them really to be because of course uh Tegan and Nissa, of course, Tissa, is
Oh yes,
Ace.
love a
It's
bit of Tissa.
of
Yeah.
course that episode was a bit didn't really confirm it, but
Mm,
it's definitely canon.
yeah,
Like
I
Russ
think
T Davis
that's
loves it. He put it
yeah,
in everything, so I'm just gonna go with it. And of course, Ace being canonically by
yeah,
uh Doctor and Yaz. I mean, it was incredible. It really was. And as mentioned earlier, this era has been so inclusive, and it's one of its many strengths. Many strengths is how, I mean, the show itself is inherently inclusive to everyone. It's inherently diverse, as is sci-fi as a genre as a whole, really. And
yeah,
but even so, the shows, I feel like this era really just did such a good job, and I can't wait for the future because I can imagine it can only go higher. It can only
yeah,
um, and I just loved it, and I loved this episode, and I loved everything about this era as a whole, and how it and the storylines it told that other eras and previous eras just I don't know they just felt right. It felt perfect for this era. All of them did,
yeah,
and I'm glad. I'm really glad. And Power of the Doctor. Naturally I've watched all of the regenerations live from Eccleston.
yeah.
Um, and it's always a struggle. And it always drains me emotionally. Um, and this one was no different. It really just hit the heartstrings in exactly the right places. Although
Yeah.
I do wish Phasmin did, I do wish Furtin and Yaz did kiss, but
Oh
it was,
well. Yeah.
yeah, but BBC and all that, and COVID
Mhm.
restrictions. But I do wish there was. But even so, the Phasmin relationship was handled so well in this story,
Yeah,
and
for
the
sure.
scene where they're looking at the Earth on the roof of the TARDIS broke my heart. I think that's when I started crying. That
Yeah.
moment right there.
I was sobbing my eyes out. I couldn't breathe for the last 20 minutes of the episode. It was constant tears. It was
Mm.
crazy.
Actually, I think my heart stopped at one point when watching the classic Doctors appear, because for and
Yes.
I started tearing up at Adric, Adric's
Oh,
mission,
yes.
and Seven and Ace's moment, which was it was just
I that was
magical.
brilliant. It was
Mm,
so good. And Sylvester's last line that he says, oh, it gives me chills to think about it. It's so powerful and it's
I
so
know, it's just
it's like a love letter to the classics, and I just think it was so beautifully done. Um
and seeing all those classic Doctors come back to support Jodie in her
yes.
final story, rather than I love how it was done because they didn't overstep.
Yeah.
They didn't go above Jodie. They supported her. They supported her through
Hmm.
this, and they supported the character through this. And it was great seeing them all from Davison to McGann. McGann was
I
and
couldn't
Bradley,
believe
of
my
course.
eyes. Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
all of which I've met, and they're lovely people. And I've met Colin like 6 times this year, and I know Colin
Have
is like,
you?
yeah, I mean, he goes to pretty much every convention,
Yeah, he does.
and I just go up and say hello to him at this point, and it's like long time no see. It's lovely. But I know he's like the biggest 13 stan pretty much. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have been like if all the other doctors had appeared and Colin wasn't there, it would have just felt missing. It would have felt,
Uh,
and because
Oh, for sure.
Colin has been there since day one for Jodie, and
He has.
it's amazing to see. I absolutely love Colin. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But
I love him too.
yeah. I mean, who doesn't love Colin?
I know.
Uh,
He
yeah.
when I went to I my friend went to go and get an autograph off Colin at Wales Comic Con last year.
Mm.
Oh no, it was this year, sorry. And I just like I was like, oh, I'm just gonna come along with you. And I was in my 13 cosplay and we walked up to him and he goes, "Hi Jodie" to me, and my heart melted. I was like, Colin, that is so cute. He's so
Oh,
lovely.
that's just amazing. I mean, I better change the subject or this will turn into a tribute to Colin Baker in a second. But yeah, it was so good to see them back, and all those scenes were just incredible. They were just brilliant, and I've been watching Classic Who since I was a kid, so seeing that moment, seeing all
Yeah.
I brought me to tears. Not as much as Jude, but it brought me to tears. Um, and once again, for like the final time, going back to the seasons, of course. Although I think including the specials. Well, actually, let's just focus on Flux. What was your favorite episode of
Yeah.
Flux? The Flux storyline.
Mine, I think I've got to say that I loved Halloween Apocalypse and I loved Village of the Angels.
Mm,
And I did also adore The Vanquishers. I think that is such an overhated story. The
I
Vanquishers is
agree.
so
I
good.
agree.
But
Mm,
I think my favorite episode of Flux is Once Upon Time. And I know that is probably like the most random episode to pick, but I just think it's so fun and I love seeing Jodie and Manda stretch like their
yeah,
acting skills. We got to see so many different takes on characters, and I just loved it. I was just
yeah.
laughing the whole time. But
Um,
yeah,
I absolutely adore Once Upon a Time because it has that. It's completely bonkers. It's
yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
like
It's wild.
it's this huge scale, like just it's high concept stuff, and I know a lot of people were confused by it, but it was just absolutely fantastic. Like,
Yeah,
and as you said, Jodie and Manip got so many different scenarios and so much range that they were given. There's, I only have one negative with that story, and it was that Joe Martin didn't get more.
oh
I
yeah, for sure.
so wanted more of Joe Martin as a whole throughout this era. I think
Yeah,
that's the only like I think that's I wish they'd done more.
me
That's
too.
my
I
main.
completely agree.
Yeah, and I'm glad Big Finish are doing more with
Oh, I'm
her.
so excited.
Same. And the
Yes.
Demand Master as well, getting some more.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
And oh, it's gonna be brilliant. I mean, yeah, and I can't wait to see what they do. And of course the comics as well. They've done some
It's a
Joe
brilliant
stuff.
comic. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that comic. It was very interesting.
I love the comic run of Jodie's era as well. I feel like it's all amazing stories. Like it really understands the characters so well.
For sure.
I know a lot of people whose favorite Jodie stories are from extended media.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people love The Good Doctor. That's a
Hmm.
standout to so many people, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love that story as well. It's amazing. I mean, all of them really. I can't really pinpoint a bad story from all of those ranges really, and I can't wait for more. And Redacted as well. How could I miss out Redacted?
Oh,
I love Redacted.
Redacted, my beloved. I love Redacted. Love
I mean,
it.
I'm so glad they got Jodie in for that as well.
Oh, me too. Me
Like
too.
the fact that she's already done that already after leaving the Doctor gives me hope
Yeah.
we'll get more Big Finish. It's just a
Hopefully
man.
soon.
I think we'll get. I think Mandip will join her definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. She
I'm
will.
not sure about Tosin or Bradley.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
them
they
two would.
will.
No.
And I'm not sure about John either, because John is very busy. But
Oh, he's a busy man.
maybe for one or two stories or something like that in
Yeah.
future, a box set or two. Um,
Yeah.
maybe they'll get like God, I can't even remember the actors' names, but Vinda Bell and Carvanista. Maybe they can come back.
Oh, that I would love that. That would be so fun. Or even like I really want a Target novelization of Flux
Yeah, that'd
because
be.
it would be a big book, but it
Oh
would be
yeah.
so juicy, and I think it's really needed. And
Mm.
I really hope Chris Chibnall gives us that one day, especially if it was wrote by Chris.
Oh,
Um,
it'd be
I really
incredible.
hope so.
Because
Yeah,
like looking at the previous Target novelizations written by like Stephen Moffat and Russell Davis,
yeah,
they change the stories so much in great ways, and they elaborate on everything really. Like with the Rose novelization, adding in all those doctors to like the photo scene, and like
yeah.
Day of the Doctor's just a wild ride. It's it's like there's so much in it that wasn't on like this wasn't on screen. Like most
Yeah.
of that novelization is just bonus content added story. Um
Yeah, I know River was added into that story,
yeah, and I mean
randomly. Yeah.
yeah, and like they included the Night of the Doctor as like a prologue, which on a slight off note, they should have done like Night of the Doctor as the cold open for that story. I
Yeah.
would have
Oh
loved
yeah.
if it was like if that 15 minutes was like the opening and then Day of the Doctor started. That would have been
That would have been good.
so much. That would have been
Yeah.
brilliant. But that was slight tangent out of the way. Um, Going back to Jodie's era, which is of course the main
Yes.
focus. Um, what were your thoughts on like the side characters such as Carmenista, Belle, and Vinda, and all of them really? I mean, there's so many to go through, but like
Yeah.
focusing on like the primary ones, and I mean, there's just so many. I mean, Flux alone had
Yeah.
hundreds, hundreds. Like, what were your thoughts on like the general side characters throughout? Did you yeah.
So in Flux, I adored Belle. I think she is the cutest little thing ever, and I think Thadia Graham did such a good job of playing Belle.
That's her name.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, she's brilliant, and Jacob as a Vinda is they're so cute, and their story of them trying to find each other. I think that there's always been a lot of side characters throughout 13's era, which can take away from the story sometimes. Like every
Yeah.
episode, there's at least like 4 to 6 side characters. But I think with Flux, it worked a lot better because they were in most of the episodes, so it was a continuous story. But I still think every character that's appeared has had such a monumental impact on the characters that they've interacted with. So
Yeah.
like they've always had an impact on like the fam. So it's nothing that like there's always positive that comes off having all
Yeah.
those side characters in a story for sure, I reckon. But I think Belle and Carvanista's probably yeah, Belle and Carvanista are my two favorite side characters in Jodie's era. The
Yeah.
Carvanista's hilarious.
I
It's
think
so stupid. I love him.
yeah, they're definitely some of my favorite side characters. Others I love what was it I how can I not remember her name? She's a brilliant comedian, Eva the Daleks. I'm
Oh,
doing really bad with
Aisling.
name. Aisling B.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic character.
Oh, she was brilliant.
Just
Absolutely
once
amazing.
again, a comedian I want to play a companion. Like I want
Yes.
them to return as that
Yeah.
character. Um, and then what's her name?
Charlotte Ritchie.
Charlotte Ritchie. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't believe I forgot her name as well. She's like an incredible actor and comedian. I absolutely adore the character, and she's just such a great person, and all of them really are great people. But like, I don't know, she just fits so well into Doctor Who universe. I would have loved her
She
to play the
does.
Doctor at some point. Like that would have
Oh,
been
I completely
such
agree.
great casting.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even watching her on Taskmaster as well, and show and Ghosts. I fucking love Ghosts. Ghosts is
Oh,
incredible.
Ghosts is so good. I highly recommend watching Feel Good if you love Ghosts.
Really? Oh, I'll check it
Charlotte's
out.
in Feel Good. It's a very good show.
I'll
Yeah.
check it out. But yeah, I mean, talking of other shows, of course. My first impression of Jodie was actually from I looked up the name beforehand because I knew I'd forget it. But it was like the show she had to play like this person who pretends to be a nurse. And it was like it
Oh,
was on around the time
Trust
when I
Me?
Trust Me, that's the one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that was brilliant. I absolutely loved her in that role, and that was kind of the first thing I kind of watched because I wanted to get to know Jodie a bit more. And before,
Yeah.
and I believe they announced it like around the time of that because that
Yeah,
was
they did.
brilliant way to do it. Absolutely brilliant way to do it. I haven't gotten around to watching Broadchurch yet, but my gran is currently binging for it now, and she absolutely loves it. So I want to watch it. And I've heard great things about Jodie and David's performances
Oh,
in that,
yeah.
and everyone's and Olivia Colman's and Chibnall's writing. So it sounds like a great
Yes.
show to watch.
Yeah,
I know Broadchurch kind of influenced this era of the show a bit. Um,
for sure.
I think especially in how it was run, like the secretive. It was very
Yeah.
secretive. What was your what's your view on like the marketing and how this era was kind of because like that's been it's been a contention within the fandom for a
Yeah.
while because everyone
Even
yeah.
today, yeah.
I mean, everyone was suddenly a marketing expert as soon as Jodie Whittaker's era started, for some reason. But what was your view on the marketing?
I think that for the BBC, they've always had a consistent pattern over the past few years and with how they promote things. So I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary for the BBC for the past few years. From what I've looked at, when we around the time Flux was coming out, another TV show was coming out called Vigil,
Mm,
around the same time, and they promoted that show exactly the same as they promoted Flux. So
yeah,
it's nothing out of the ordinary for the BBC. But I do think in some ways that they are slacking on Jodie promotion,
I
um, on let's say book covers, the annuals, and I know it's because other doctors' faces will sell more than Jodie's probably.
which is a
Um,
very sad reality to live in.
it is sad reality, yeah. But it's just sad because there's already a lack of merch, I think, for Jodie's era. And I'm saying
Yeah,
that as someone who has literally got every single piece of Jodie's merch. Um,
likewise.
but yeah, but sometimes it just feels like they're trying to ignore 13, even though it might not be their intention and it's genuinely just because they need more sales on a product.
Yeah,
I don't know. I do not study marketing. I'm a photography student. Um, but I think that it's normal for the BBC to behave that way. But I do wish that, she was on billboards everywhere instead of just one little
yeah.
town.
I think
Yeah.
I can only I couldn't agree more really because like I I I think the marketing for Series 11 was great. I think it's brilliant. I
Yes,
think most people agree
yeah,
with
I
that.
agree.
And Series 12 was okay. I remember the hype around the trailer. Flux, I mean, it was great marketing towards the fans and the people that
Yeah,
check out like the social media, but and like the glitchy TV effect would be great. It was brilliant that those teasers with her like warning everyone
yeah,
and doing it on the Graham Norton show was brilliant as well. Um, yeah, I just wish because like obviously with the new era coming in, like with Ross Davis, and like they're very heavily marketing it now. I do wish Jodie got that. I do wish
Oh,
because
I agree.
I
I
think
agree.
in modern day, in with the pandemic, with everything we've been through and with all the competition now, I think the level of marketing they're doing now is kind of what's needed to kind of stand
Yeah,
out. I mean, all these Disney
definitely.
Plus shows, I mean that's essentially the and Netflix shows, that's essentially the structure that Doctor is following now with its
Yeah.
marketing, I think. You know, being bombastic, being stepping head first. Although I do feel like people are right in regard that maybe it was a bit too quick in how they switched it up. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
I can see why they did it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, maybe give Jodie Zero time, bit of time to breathe. But as I said, I can see why they did it, and
Mhm.
I can see the logic, and I wish Jodie got that after like I wish like a week after Capaldi Zero we got a logo, we got everything, we got like maybe not a costume reveal or anything like that, but you know, I wish Jodie was like heavily like front and center, but even
Yeah.
so, Series 11's marketing was great. But
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so what I mean while I don't really want to focus too much on the future of the show in these because of course as mentioned it sometimes it does feel a bit too quick to focus on the future
Yeah.
of it all. So very briefly, what are your thoughts on kind of the future of the show at the moment?
I am beyond excited to see Shooties run.
Mm,
Um, I'm very hyped for it. Saying that, Russell T Davies wasn't my favorite showrunner. of Doctor Who, but obviously it's been a long time since he had
Mm.
control over the show, so I'm really excited to see where it goes. And I'm actually quite excited for the specials coming up next year, especially for Donna, and even more especially for Yaz Finney playing
Yeah,
Rose. I'm so excited
it's gonna be
to see
amazing.
Yaz.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be brilliant.
it will be, but I just can't wait to see Shooty on screen. I think that's my main like excitement for. I can't wait to see what outfit he's wearing and just things like that. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, naturally, I understand, to a degree, people's hesitant thoughts towards Tenant returning.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. I personally myself, I love Tenant, absolutely love Tenant. So I'm hyped for him to come back. Of course,
Yeah.
I understand both kind of perspectives of it and everything, and I love when the show, but yeah, I don't really as I said, this video is all about Jodie, and I don't want
Yes.
and while the future is very exciting, uh
hmm
the past is just as exciting and well worth checking out if anyone watching hasn't watched the Whittaker era and is looking for a reason, of views to watch it. I mean, if you had to introduce that era of the show, so I know it's well into the video now, but if you had to sum up the era, how would you do so? Because we've used the words hope and inclusive and diverse and brilliant, but how would you kind of
Yeah.
sum it up in a few sentences, to an elevator pitch to get someone into the show?
I'd say the 13th era is an adventure and a story that unpicks itself so slowly, but it's so fun and enjoyable throughout. Um, and there's so many surprises along the way that you would never imagine that would happen. You're always on the edge of your seat watching 13's era. You never know what's going to happen. I think with Chris Chibnall's work, you're always surprised. You think a story's going to go one way, and you are wrong because it's not going to go that way. You're going to be very shocked. But yeah, I think the perfect words for 13's era is adventure and hope and love for sure.
Couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. I couldn't have put it better myself. And moving on, talking about the narrative kind of unraveling.
hmm
What were your views on the timeless children and all that side of it? Because that was also a matter of contention. I mean, I bloody love it. I love the timeless children and that arc,
Yeah.
and I've been watching I used to watch fan creators growing up, and there was this one that focused on the idea of pre-Hartnell doctors and all that, and the
Yeah.
doctor's past. And ever since I was a kid, I have loved that idea, and I've always wanted to see it on screen. And I never thought I'd see the day, but only Chris Chibnall would do it. Only Chris
Yes.
Chibnall would.
Only Chris Chibnall.
Only Chris Chibnall, and I think it
hmm
was excellent. What are your views on it all?
Um, I think that Chris Chibnall is so daring when it comes to his storylines that he does not give a damn what he wants to do what he wants to do, and he knows exactly what he's gonna do. And The Timeless Child, I find so interesting. I think it brings a new mystery to the Doctor because obviously there's only so much you can do in Doctor Who, and
Yeah.
after the Doctor's been to Gallifrey and it's been destroyed, and then oh Gallifrey's okay again, and Gallifrey's destroyed again. I think adding a new history to a show with so much history already and just revamping it makes it so much more mysterious and exciting. There's so much more to explore in the future. Um, and I just find it really interesting. And I did do research when the Timeless Child happened because I hadn't watched all the classics, but it's like with
Yeah.
the Mobius doctors
Yeah.
and the stories like that. I was so intrigued by it then, and I really love The Timeless Child. I think that it should be brought up in the future, and I really hope
I
that
hope so
the
too.
watch is dug out of that TARDIS
Yeah.
and is played with a bit some more because that would be so exciting.
I mean, as mentioned, I've always been a continuity nerd, as many Who fans are, and I've always kind of loved the idea of the Morbius Doctors. And when they showed up on
Yeah.
screen, I jumped out of my seat. That was a jump out of my
Yeah.
seat moment. I mean, I was
Yeah.
jumping out of my seat when the Absorbaloff showed up on screen. Uh,
Yeah.
that whole sequence is just so hype. I
Oh, I know, right?
And when like the title sequence plays, oh, it's just
It's
amazing.
brilliant.
It
So
was
good.
but yeah, when the Morbius Doctor showed up, I mean, I knew like obviously with Fugitive that it was going down the pre-Hartnell way and the Morbius all
Hmm.
that, and but I didn't expect those Morbius Doctors to actually be included. That was a jump out of my seat moment, as mentioned. I mean, I absolutely love the arc. I love how Chris Chibnall kind of. I think every writer, every producer, every artist includes a bit of themselves in their work,
Yeah.
and I admire how much of himself that he put into the show. Because
Yeah.
as a showrunner, you've got to do that. As a writer, for the show, you're writing a story for Doctor Who, but you're writing your story, and this
Yeah.
is a show with so many different writers and producers and directors that it has to be your story. You can't write a story without your character showing through or your for anything really. And I admired how much Chris Chibnall put into there, like with Graham's cancer storyline as well,
Yeah.
and how much Chris put into that, and that was it was honestly all very endearing how much work and effort and how much of himself he put into that. That was it's nice. It's nice to watch.
It is, yeah. It is lovely seeing how much of himself he put into the story, and I think it makes it so much more personal to Chris, and I think it makes it a lot more relatable because
Mm,
you hear so many people, especially with like Chris explaining how he was adopted and how that relates to Time's Child, and that is representation for even more people
yeah.
that um it doesn't have to be like gay representation. It's a different kind of representation, and I think that is so lovely to see that Chris did that and he opened up and showed a part of himself that we didn't know about.
Mm.
And I really enjoy that about Chris's writing.
Yeah, I mean, representation is everyone. It's human.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, it is.
it's, and as mentioned in the beginning, creativity would be dead without representation and
Exactly.
diversity. And the people
Yeah.
who call for it to not be included, they're just fucking assholes. I'm just gonna say that now. They're just
They are.
they are so like I like create creativity takes diversity. It takes humanity, and humanity is inclusive. We are
Yeah,
inherently an inclusive species, so why shouldn't we include everyone in a show that is inherently inclusive? I mean,
yeah,
looking back at the history of the show, the first director, the first producer, um, everything about the show, the very foundations of the show are built on inclusivity and diversity, and I'm glad that we are moving more forward in that direction as
for
time goes
sure.
on. And I feel like this era has been a beacon in that regard. It's been
Yeah,
yeah, and I feel like it's just gradually been getting more and more and more and more and more inclusive, and it's amazing. It truly is amazing. And yeah, I mean, yeah, going on to like back to Joe Martin, who of course was a staple of Jodie Zero and is very
yeah.
much as mentioned earlier, I wish she'd gotten more, but with what she had, with the amount of time she had on screen and the amount of time she got to play her doctor, what are your thoughts on her doctor overall?
Oh, I love the Fugitive Doctor. I think that she's so um confident and the complete opposite to 13.
Mm,
So she really stood out even when there was the two doctors on screen. You knew that this was a new version of the Doctor. And I even think that there's been versions of the Doctor that's like that, like 12, let's say, but
Yeah.
so confident. She does not give a damn, and I absolutely adore that. And you can tell this is a version of a Doctor that we've never saw before because the guns and the the confidence holding the gun, which I can't imagine the Doctor doing. Um, any of the Doctors really doing.
I can imagine
Um,
the third Doctor. I don't
yeah,
know,
I was just
like,
about to say, I know he's held a gun before. I know that man has.
and I can imagine like the sixth Doctor while he was unstable.
Yeah, that crazy era. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Um, but yeah, I think and Joe being the complete opposite of Ruth is so funny to me because Joe is so lovely and adorable. But she's just so well, and she really commands like your attention when she's on screen, for
Yeah,
sure.
I know. I absolutely love her Doctor, and as I said, wish she got more. But with what she had, she just took it and held it with both her hands, and she just it was insane how she could just command the screen just like that. I
Yeah,
mean, and I can see like how she took inspiration from 12 and uh sort of one in a way, I think.
yeah,
A lot of
I think so.
and she really fit with like that era of like the first Doctor, second Doctor, third Doctor era. And of course, she's before that. And so it feels natural for her to be before the first Doctor.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she has that commanding presence that every Doctor should have, including Jodie. Jodie had that commanding presence as well. But of course, she brought a lot of like every actor who plays a role brings their own character into it. I think
yeah,
Jodie definitely did as well, and she had that commanding presence, but she also had that kind of inquisitive kind of um innocence, like a childhood innocence, like looking
yeah,
around and amazed by the universe, which was just as good as the what Joe Martin did, which is what made those Doctors so compatible, in my
yeah.
view. And it was brilliantly done, brilliantly written, and I'm so thankful we got Joe. And I'm so
Me
thankful that Big
too.
Finish is doing more of her, like as they
Yes.
should. I don't want her Doctor to become the next McGann in that she gets most of her content
Yeah,
outside of the show itself. As
I
much as
agree.
I love the extended universe, the expanded
Yeah.
universe, and love McGann's Doctor and love what he got, I don't want that for Joe. I didn't.
Oh.
It'd be nice for McGann to get a spin off as well. I mean, everyone's asking for it always for like the past 10 years
Mhm.
now. Well, for the past 30. Well, it wasn't even around 30 years yet. No, what am I thinking of? But yeah, I would love for Joe to return in her own spin off or something on screen as well as in audio. I think she could really work as a multimedia Doctor.
Yeah, for sure. I think that her having her own comic and
Mm,
having um the new Big Finish series proves that she is going to be returning quite a lot. I hope that she does appear on the main show again someday. But
yeah.
obviously that's all down to Russell. But her comic series was really strong and really fun and brought more history to Time Lords once again. So if anyone hasn't read that Roof Doctor comic series, then I highly recommend it because it's very interesting.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I just can't wait. I can't wait for more Joe. And
Me too.
I got to meet her at Bedford. She's lovely. She's amazing.
She's so lovely, isn't she?
So final thought. Now that the Jodie Whittaker is over and sadly over, and we'll hopefully get some more expansive media stuff in future. What are your kind of final thoughts from it all? And yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I hope that we get more expanded media because I'm a really big fan of the 13th Doctor comics and the books. So I really hope there's another comic in the future, and I cannot wait for the day that we hear Jodie Whittaker's voice on a Big Finish box set. I can't wait for that
Ah,
day.
that'll be the day.
It's going to be amazing, and I think one thing I definitely want to see from Big Finish and Jodie is 13 Meet and River Song. I think that would make my mind explode and I would just love it. Also, like 13 and Missy would be so fun. That would just be
Yeah,
like
that'd be
40
insane. That'd be
minutes.
brilliant. And
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. It'd be an interesting psychological story considering Dewan and
Yeah.
13 meeting Dewan after Missy. That would be, and I wonder if like because I know they're doing post series 10 Missy stuff because
Yeah.
she survived and Lumia and all that. So it'd be interesting if 13 was to learn that Missy stood with the Doctor in the end and that they
Yeah.
actually, but at the same time, I kind of like that they don't know because it adds to the tragedy of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Makes it more dramatic, and that's what we love about
Maybe
the
like the
show.
story could be like 13 meets Missy at an earlier point in Missy's life, and 13 knows where Missy's heading. 13 knows that Missy's gonna not stand with her and turn into the one,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Missy
that's
does that.
actually happened in a book.
Which one was that?
The Wonderful Doctor of Oz. That is
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite book, and they met. It was quite brief, to be fair,
Mm.
but I just want them to meet again, and I think Michelle Gomez and Jodie would be so fun and camp together. It'd
The
be
amount of
hilarious to listen
energy
to.
that will come from that audio will be insane.
It literally would be.
And I hope it happens one day.
Me too.
It'd be interesting if River Song met Joe Martin. That
Oh,
would be interesting.
I've spoke about this on Twitter. I can't even cope with that idea because it would be so fun. Because River would tease Ruth, and Ruth would be
Mm,
like, "Go away! Like, who are you?" And I just think it would be very fun.
that'd be
I'd love
amazing.
that.
I mean, I want River to just meet every doctor, to be honest. I know she's met most of them at this point. She's met one, two, three. And she
Hmm.
did meet two, right? I've,
I
I'm not
I
sure because
don't
like,
know.
I'm not sure. I don't
Not
actually think.
not in the audios, I don't believe.
Because like there was
In
one story where it was like during a second Doctor story. I think it was like during the Web of Fear. Because like she met the first Doctor because she became Susan's school teacher. She met the third Doctor in Carnival of Monsters.
yeah,
I don't know if she actually met the second Doctor. I need to
I
do.
don't know that either.
But yeah, she's met
Let me
the
look
fourth
it up.
Doctor, fifth Doctor, sixth Doctor, seventh Doctor, eighth Doctor a lot. I'd love her to meet War because that would be an
What?
interesting dynamic, like the War
I think
Doctor.
I think nine too, and
Nine as
the ninth
well.
Doctor.
Like
That I think that's coming soon.
yeah,
For
that's definitely
sure.
happening.
Yeah.
Like the War Doctor would be interesting because, of course, that's him at his darkest hour, and
Yeah,
yeah, I think it would be an interesting dynamic. And the
definitely.
ninth Doctor, I reckon it'd have to be like, I feel like straight after the war, because I feel like
Yeah.
that'd be just as interesting a dynamic. Maybe like
Yeah.
in the same box set because they'd be very similar. I find like,
Hmm.
but post and pre and all that, and yeah, and of course 13 would be incredible with
Yes.
River. And even 14 would be interesting because, of course, in the library two-parter,
Yeah.
she mentions that these eyes, as they are then, are the youngest that they've ever seen. Ten's
Uh-huh.
eyes. So maybe
Oh,
she did meet 14.
oh, if
But
River
also,
appears next year.
but
Oh
also they
gosh.
have done more 13 and 10 stories, but
Yeah.
I think it would add a nice double meaning to the, you know,
Oh, I think so.
mm,
Yeah. Oh God, that would blow my mind if that ever happened in the specials next year. Oh my
mm.
God.
But yeah, anyways, it's been lovely talking to you today about Jodie Zero and everything, really. Yeah. If you have anything to promote or anything like that, or you like your Twitter and socials, yeah, go ahead and I'll put
Yeah,
them in the
so
description.
oh, okay, thank you. All my handles are the exact same. It's Hello Benjamin with two O's on Twitter, TikTok, and recently Tumblr, but I have no clue how to use that app.
Me neither. I started using it and I have no idea.
No, it's difficult.
Twitter's still not crumbled yet, so I knew it was going to be
Yeah.
a slow collapse, as all like
Hmm.
even like some of the oldest websites out there are still collapsing.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's heading off.
Yeah.
It's going somewhere. I mean, it's being
Hmm.
removed from the app stores, I think, at the time of recording. So it'll be interesting to
Has
see where that
it?
goes. I think it will be like Apple and Google have both threatened it, and Elon is not taking it seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting
It
future indeed
is.
for Dot2 on social media. But I'll
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably start putting my Discord in the description now actually, because that makes
Yeah,
sense
that's
to do
probably a
that.
good
So
idea.
that'll be in the
Yeah.
description as well, as will my Ko-fi, which just uh tip and donate if you can. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for joining me, T. It
Thank
genuinely
you
has
for
been
having
brilliant.
me. Thank you. It's been really fun, and I think that this is such a brilliant opportunity, and I'm really happy that you're doing this. Yeah, I'm very grateful. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for joining me, and it really has been great talking to you and just talking about this era. It's such a brilliant era, and yeah,
Yeah.
make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and see you later, everyone. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.